All right, so do it live on a Thursday edition of the program. I am merely Bo. He is the great Z. Look at it, buddy. Spring is here. It's gorgeous.
No, it's not.
Sun's out.
This is what we call fool's gold.
It's going to dry out by this afternoon. By Friday, we're going to be out of here at 3:15. Tee time's ready to go. Cart pass. Drive wherever you want. Live, boys. Ball's going to get out there and roll tomorrow, baby, with this sun and this heat. I'm in shorts. You and I are in matching shirts.
We are. By the way, we were really almost
identical. You thought about this.
I was going.
Are you wearing these shorts too? Are you shorted or your pants?
I'm pants.
Are they red Vanley?
Grayson.
Okay, I went red Vanley short.
Yeah, that's right. I have those shorts. They're fantastic.
They're
shorts.
lovely.
They are lovely shorts. I like your optimism.
It doesn't match up. Is that what you're saying?
I don't like to be the bearer of bad news, but tonight there's a 80% chance of rain tonight.
He's robbing your joy today.
Yes, thief of joy.
He doesn't do that.
No.
Then on Friday, very nice, 56 sunny.
People are saying,
and then we're gonna. Ooh boy, Saturday,
You
very
get a
bad.
poop
Almost
sandwich. You get a poop sandwich.
almost
You
an
get-
inch of rain Saturday, followed by more rain on Sunday, and
then
there
a
you go.
freeze,
By the
right?
way,
Then a
and then on
freeze?
Tuesday, let me see what this says: low clouds, breezy and colder with a couple of snow showers.
"Oh, come on!"
Any heavier snow shower could briefly reduce visibility. That's on Tuesday, April the 8th.
If we get a snow
That's
day,
that's
these
the
kids get
the
a snow
tribe's
day,
opener.
April 8th. Is it really?
Well, we don't have a show that day.
Well, we're not golfing.
Tuesday, April 8th, we are off because it's 8:50. It's Guardians' home opener. Of course, the weather is not great for it.
Are we doing a show if the game's canceled?
No. We're off.
Fantastic.
That's
Did you hear
on
that,
someone
Kev?
else.
One way or another.
Yeah, guys, you guys can probably be off still. I don't know what the plan is.
What the plan would
Kev,
be.
we will not be here if you're
We're not
looking
gonna
for
be
me
here,
to connect
so-
at 1 o'clock.
It won't be us, Kev, just so you know.
It's all right. I'll still be on the board at 1. I don't get to go to Pickwick and Frolic. It's okay.
Let me ask you this.
Yes.
I have, and you're out there, you have kids. My kids have been practicing lacrosse since February, okay? They are a month
It's April
plus
now.
in of quite a bit of really 3 or 4 weeks of multiple practices a week.
You're kind of ready
It's
for
time
a
to
game
play.
at this point.
Time to play.
Somebody. Yeah. All canceled all week. Bootsy already canceled they're all on it now. They're all in leagues and away we go. Supposed to be. So we are supposed to play Saturday at Chagrin. Okay?
Yep.
Turf.
So as long as there's no lightning,
We're in.
this is your part of the world.
Yeah, this is
Will
an inch of rain.
Will I need a canoe to get out?
Yes.
Because you
here's
have
what
to
I don't
drive down
understand,
in.
dude. Here's what I don't understand. So at my house in the back, we have like a deck that goes down
Yeah.
to, we'll call it a lake. Lake
Yeah,
Segura. It's
like Z.
It's, a giant, it's not a retention pond. I don't know what it is. Yes.
Could you put a canoe on it?
Yes, easily.
For sure.
You could have a jet ski on
Kayak,
it.
jet ski,
Yeah.
lake.
Short.
Why can't we call it Lake Z?
a lake.
Should I put it on Wikipedia?
All right,
It's a
fine.
lake,
So
for
it's a
sure.
lake. Okay. It rained yesterday for a couple hours?
Yeah.
But fairly heavily. And then it rained a little bit during the night. I heard some very strange sounds during the night, some hail maybe even.
Yeah.
About 1:30, 2 o'clock. It was.
Yeah,
I
that's
was
right.
watching the line come across.
That's right.
Wait, he was up.
Of course he was. The water level of our body of water is up significantly.
Okay.
Like to maybe the highest
Peak levels.
I've ever seen it.
Okay.
Why? It didn't rain that much.
Is it? Boy, you
So
have to talk
there's
to
a
your-
lake, a neighborhood over that flows
Flows
into
in.
ours, and ours flows out down the river. Like they're all kind of connected, but they've always been that way.
Always been that way. And so, what is it about? You being a lakefront property owner, I would imagine
We're up. We're fine.
Okay,
but
you're fine. You're safe.
Yeah.
There's no
It would
problem
have
for
to
you.
go up like
Noah's Ark type
10
stuff.
feet.
Yeah. Oh, okay. All right. It's a good question. There must be a blockage somewhere for it to raise to that level because we've had a lot of rain, but it's not like
it's up like a foot. I would say easy. It's over like the
wow.
the things.
Most
Over
of
a
the
big body of water up a foot's a big deal.
the
buddy.
river
Yes.
going through Olmsted Falls is raging. You could do rapids. You could put a raft
You could
in,
get in
and
there?
you could. There's whitewater rapids. It's more like brown water rapids, but
Yep.
there's a fair amount of mud.
Sure.
Yeah.
But we're under a flood watch till like Sunday night.
Yeah, it's brutal. I mean, it's just brutal. Just suck. Pure suck is what
Yeah.
it is. That's where we're at.
It's terrible.
This is
Horrible,
day
Kenny.
1 of 4 that you're going to get in April. That's nice. Get out and enjoy it.
My wife said, "Could you believe that noise last night?" And I said, "What?" I didn't hear anything. And I think it's what happened before we had kids. I would hear everything, and would like pop out of the bed with a rifle and revolver in hand, like I think everybody ought to be doing right now.
Well, we know that there
There are people that are.
There are people that
So,
are ready.
Rifle and revolver ready to go. And
I hope it is a revolver. If you have I feel like if you have a mustache, it's got to be
gotta
like
be.
a 6-shooter,
I think you're right. Yeah.
like a Colt 45.
Colt 45. That's what it's got to be.
That's what a pistola.
Yeah. You got to have
Yeah,
that.
you can't have like a Glock.
No. No.
Could you imagine him
No.
coming out? Could you
No.
imagine?
No.
It's true. He told
I
me.
know. I need it to be a revolver. But anyway, once we had the kids, I just tuned it out. So my wife always handled them in the middle of the night.
Yeah.
And so I'm to the point now where it takes a lot. Like the boys will do, especially the two younger ones will do this thing where like if they wake up with like a nightmare, they'll just walk into our bedroom and then just stand over my wife and not say anything until she wakes up. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy.
I'm sure her heart rate's really thankful for that
what is
when
going
there's someone
on?
standing
What if
over
there's
top
like
of you. in
lightning,
bed?
and then you just see a silhouette of somebody standing there. Like that'd be terrifying.
Bootsy.
Yeah, Boots. Well, Bootsy is pure joy. You'd
See,
sense
they sit there, his glory.
Yeah, his immediate goodness.
Yeah, they just stand there though. But anyway, I don't hear anything. I didn't hear a thing last night. Nothing.
It was. I kept waiting for it because our Indianapolis got hit. The Metro got a big, probably an EF2, maybe a 3.
Yeah.
Went through Indianapolis.
Wow.
So checked on Yellowstone. A couple of my other friends. The G-Man's lady lives there.
Yeah.
Making sure everybody's all right. There's pretty substantial damage, but that line held together all the way into Ohio, and I'm like, come 2 o'clock in the morning, things going to get a little dicey. And got the phone alert, but it was just a wind and rain and done. A couple rumbles of thunder, but that was it. But
Yeah.
there was a lot of rain. I'm kind of surprised. I expected a lot more ponding, a lot of flooding, and there really wasn't over on our side of town. It's like everything absorbed into the ground pretty quick.
Yeah, it's amazing what this ground can take in.
Yeah.
How much rain. It's like a sponge. Certainly that can do it. All right, your Colorado Pro Day is tomorrow. Shedeur Sanders and Travis Hunter both expected to work out and have private meetings
Let's go.
with the Browns this week per multiple reports.
If it's not going to be Shedeur, I'm totally in on Travis Hunter. I'm fine with it.
Weapons,
Love it.
weapons, weapons.
Or if somebody makes you an offer where you can move back, pick up some assets, and say get T-Mac,
Yeah, sold.
I'd do that as well. Gives you an asset to maybe move back in for a Shedeur if he were able to be available in the middle to late first round. I'm all for it.
The I've just come to the place. I get tagged. I know you do too. I get tagged on these like X threads of like people, and so every once in a while I'll be like, okay, what is all of this? And then I get to the beginning of it, and it was a guy who I don't even know who the guy was, but he said something to the effect of like, Shedeur Sanders is not a top 50 player, was like his thing. And he goes, I've yet to find anybody who says he's a top 15 prospect in this draft. And it just is wrong.
First of all, I know who tagged you into this.
Oh, you saw it too? You were on this thing
Got to
too?
be our guy, Jerg Dog.
Maybe.
Yeah,
I don't
it's
know.
gotta
Somebody
be.
put me on and I saw it and I was like, who is this guy who's saying there's no one who says
He's not a Shedeur fan.
Okay, that's fine. But for somebody to come on and say that Shedeur is not a top 15 when we did all of this and he was consistently regarded as a top 20 prospect and has been for over a year.
And he is on a great many boards.
Yes.
A great many boards.
Yeah.
Some people as high as in the top 10, many in the top 20. But yes, absolutely. I mean, we just had Emery Hunt on here who was like, it's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
A no-brainer. Easiest evaluation.
I think that it's one of those times you have to remind folks, whether folks out there listening, sometimes even remind ourselves because you get caught up in it, that there is an enormous amount of time between the combine and the draft. And in that time, there are a ton of people, a ton of entities, a ton of networks who are responsible for content.
Yes.
You have to have content.
Well,
and the easiest thing to have content about in this draft is Shedeur Sanders. He is, he is not this player, but the other players who have had this type of known commodity Tebow comes to mind, where everybody knew who he was. So it was an easy talking point to talk about him in the lead up to the draft because you didn't have to explain. If you're going to have an impassioned conversation around Cam Ward, even who most people think is going to go number 1 now, if that is the case, you have to explain to the average sports fan. I'm not talking about you out there listening, diehard Browns fan, college football geek, whatever. I'm not talking about those guys. I'm talking about average fan. You have to explain who Cam Ward is every time.
Yeah.
You do not have to do that with Shedeur Sanders.
No, not at all.
He is known.
No, and
it's an easy jumping off point for debate.
And there are also so many people involved in this space now giving opinions.
Jeez.
And there, of course, is a wide range of opinions on it. And you follow people whose opinions that you trust the most. And so I think if you listen to my conversation with Greg Cosell, whose opinion I trust more than anybody's, just about, you understand that, part of his evaluation is the evolution of the game, but that there are a lot of things that he likes about Shedeur Sanders, and that if you put the right scheme and the right players around him, he can be really, really good. Now, that's not to say where people think that maybe, Cam Ward can be a guy who elevates everybody around him. And there is definitely a group of people that don't think that is part of Shedeur's in his DNA because of the perceived lack of arm strength. Mm-hmm. But it's one of those things where there are varying opinions. You hear a lot of people, and it's very easy. I think you could just as easily create a list of 5 people who think that are very credible, who think that Shedeur Sanders should be run to the podium and take him at number 2.
Yeah.
And you can create a list of 5 people easily who think that he is a late first, early second round.
Yeah.
Easily.
Yep. All right.
I mean, like Louis Riddick said, absolutely top half of the first round guy. Emery Hunt, we know, said top 5. Charles Davis thinks that he is of that ilk. You've got Bucky Brooks, who thinks he's the best quarterback in the draft. Mel Kiper thinks he's the best quarterback in this draft. Like, there are a lot of people those are very, very, very credible names. And when you went to the combine, based solely off of the tape.
Just tape.
Daniel Jeremiah had him, I think, 11th. I think he was 11th, and Cam Ward was 10th, or maybe it was 11th and 12th. They were one spot away from each other. Same. So... And perhaps some of it is you go and you hear, okay, here's what a lot of people in the league think about him. And so that affects your view. But he's a polarizing guy, and we deal more so now than ever, we deal in a world of absolutes. Mm-hmm. He's either going to be great or he's going to be a total bust.
Yeah, because the rest isn't interesting. The gray isn't interesting. It's black or white.
But that's the world that we obviously live in now. I think it's one of those things, and I think for a quarterback, as much as their natural talent, I think their system, the scheme, the coaching, the situation they go into has every bit as much to do with their outcome as who they are as players. I think it's a nature-nurture. Like, 100%. You got to have the requisite nature, but a poor nurturing environment can derail a career. Tim Couch, I think if you put him on a good team.
Flip him and Donovan McNabb.
Tim Couch might be a Hall of Famer.
Yeah.
David Carr was really good.
He was so good at Fresno State, dude. His release
really
was
good.
Unreal.
And then he got battered and bludgeoned behind the Texans' offensive line because they didn't do those expansion teams like they did the Jags with Brunell and Burline and the Carolina Panthers, where they actually had a chance and were able to get really good really quickly. It is a very that has so much to do with things, and then also how people mature. There's so many factors that go into the ultimate outcomes of quarterbacks. And I would like to think that we here, especially with this draft, will have the opportunity. You have an opportunity to have great coaching. I think you've got the ability to put together a pretty good skill group around it. I mean, obviously, if you would bring back Nick Chubb, which would love to see happen. I think I speak for everybody. I don't think that's even remotely controversial.
Nope.
At this point, and like I said, he hasn't signed anywhere. But to think that you could have, Pro Bowl wide receiver, Pro Bowl running back, Pro Bowl tight end, plus the ability to add weapons in this draft with your picks. I mean, you could all of a sudden get to yourself to be a decent offense. That's what you're looking for.
It is. It is, and I want to do a thought exercise with you guys. Let's do it. I want to do a little exercise. I saw this. This is a quarterback who you both know who he is. Okay, this is the first 7 years of his career as a starter. Okay, for 7 years of his career as a starter, 9-7. What he led his team to: 9-7, 10-6, 11-5, 10-5-1, 10-3, 6-9-1, 7-9. It's the first 7 years of his career. During that time, a little bit of a different era, so completion percentage is a little bit down to what we are now, but mid-60s. At only one season where it was, there were 2 seasons where it wasn't a 2-to-1 touchdown interception, but for the most part it was. So that's a 7-year career. Without me saying who that player is that worthy of the number 2 pick? By the way, led the team to the playoff 4 times.
Andy Dalton, that's my guess.
Led a team to the playoff 4 times. Is that worthy of the number 2 pick in the draft?
They won the division multiple times.
Yes, I'm in.
Say,
I'm signing up for that.
You hit it. It's Dalton. I saw this going around yesterday, and they were using it as Andy Dalton. Shedeur Sanders is Andy Dalton. Well, hell, I'd take that.
Yeah.
I'd take that. That's a better run record-wise and results-wise than we've had since the 80s.
Yes, of course.
Like, no, that's not Burrow. That's not Lamar. That's not that.
So,
but at the same time, like, if you chase Allen, Burrow, and all of that, and if no quarterback is worth drafting unless they're that, you might wait a very damn long time. And it might just be in the next couple of drafts that the answer to that is only Arch Manning.
yes.
And guess what? Whoever's picking number 1 in that draft, you could give them their franchise and they're not trading out of 1 in that draft. So,
Right.
How is it a negative?
Right. So here's the thing.
I just don't understand how that's a negative. I understand the point. There'll be elevator versus.
No.
Who cares? Like, this is the result.
So I look at this from 2 ways. Number 1, would that be the best we've had since Baker? Yes. Number 2,
It would supersede Baker from a.
if we win
over 7
divisions,
years.
if we win divisions, yes, and all of that. Agreed. Now, the other part of that, and it's probably not all his fault, but it would probably land somewhere on his shoulders, right, is that in that time they won 0 playoff games.
Yeah, they were 0-4.
So Andy Dalton is simultaneously better than what we've had, for sure in that light worthy of the number 2 pick, but also in many ways the poster child for you can't have Andy Dalton because Andy Dalton makes you good enough to be good and not good enough to win a Super Bowl.
I think you can't have Andy Dalton once you've had him. But if you haven't had him, it'd be damn nice to have him.
I don't disagree with that. I think that I don't disagree with that. That part of it is accurate. That part of it is very true. The question is Andy Dalton, right? And in this case, we'd say Baker, who, by the way, has matured and has been a tremendous quarterback, and happy for him and his success in Tampa. But I think that there's probably a deep-seated feeling somewhere in Tampa of the realization that he's good enough to win our division, but we're not going to win the Super Bowl.
Yeah, but they were coming out of
Brady.
Winston and 2 years of Brady, and they're like, we don't want to go back. We can't.
Right. We don't want to go back. And
We're in a winnable division.
when they brought him in for nothing.
Yeah,
And then
right.
now they're like, okay, yeah, we can.
Yeah, we can ride this out. This is fun.
Fun.
He's fun for our fans. We win 10 games. We can win our division. Hell, we upset the Eagles in the postseason. Like, that was fun, man.
Yeah.
No, we're not going to win the Super Bowl. They probably know that. But it's fun.
Yeah.
To win 10 games, win a division, that's fun.
It's very fun. So, yeah, there's 2 ways to look at it because I would say, having a quote-unquote Andy Dalton level
Bake would be the modern version.
is what led us to taking the swing, which, again, was the right swing, but it was a swing and a miss,
Yep.
as we heard the owner of the Cleveland Browns say. So that's a conundrum. That's a catch-22 because in my mind, right, you have to believe that there's a scenario in which he can be better than that. And if you do believe that he can be better than that, then 100%. Like Andy Dalton, if that feels like that's the median outcome, but there are outcomes where he is better than that, I think it's a no-brainer you take him at number 2. No-brainer. If he isn't that, then you're going to have an opportunity to do so again.
Yeah.
There's a part of me that feels like, and who knows, these are not scores at all. And by the way, clearly, as you can tell, because we're sharing our own opinions on here, we don't have scores as to what they're going to do.
This.
That's not how it works in this organization.
No,
and it's not worked in this organization with the draft since I've been here.
No.
Well, certainly not since Andrew Barry was here. I can say, actually, there was times when I had great insight.
Right.
That was a decade ago.
Yep.
This is a completely different scenario. So that's why we talk about this 2 hours a day, every day. So we have to give you kind of our opinions because we don't know. And by the way, they don't want us to, because then we would be forced to somehow talk at it or talk around it. I'm with you. The only way out of this mess is a quarterback. And for anybody to actually say, oh man, this is exactly who this guy is going to be. Like if you said Andy Dalton is kind of the median outcome or even the Florida outcome, totally. There's a no-brainer.
Yeah.
No-brainer. 100%. What year was Andy Dalton drafted? I know you had his thing up there.
2000. He was a rookie in 2011. 2011 draft.
He's still in the league.
Still in the league.
Okay?
Yeah.
Still in the league.
Still in the league. Yep.
This problem that the Browns find themselves in, the only solution is to get a quarterback on a rookie contract and have it be successful. Clearly, the Falcons feel better about Michael Penix than the narrative on Michael Penix was. Mm-hmm. The Broncos feel better right now about Bo Nix than the narrative on Bo Nix was.
Absolutely.
100%. Mm-hmm. Like Bo Nix and Michael Penix are the people, by the way, that a lot of people will say that's where Shador and Cam Ward, they fit in, with those J.J. McCarthy and those guys.
That group.
Mm-hmm. Aaron Rodgers wanted Minnesota. Minnesota talked to him, but they're going with J.J. McCarthy.
Yep.
So now we haven't seen him, so that's different. But all he's done is win everywhere he's gone. That's the way out of it. So if you have that conviction, or you even think to your point that that's it, it's definitely worth the swing. Where are we, let's say, and by the way, let's say that our goal is we're going to take a shot on Dart, Shuck, McCord, Will Howard. Those are going to be the quarterbacks.
McCord, whoever.
Later on.
Right.
And maybe that works out, and maybe you think that guy can be Andy Dalton. And you say, okay, well, now I'm doing it in the third round, and so that feels better to me. Okay. At some point, though, you need to take a legitimate swing, and at some point you need to bring this offense to a point where you can compete with the big dogs. We went through it yesterday, folks. Yeah. We gave 40 minutes off the top that ran through everything as to why this is a scoring league and why you must be able to score the football.
Yeah.
It just is. The average winning score in the playoffs this year in the National Football League was over 31 points a game. Mm-hmm. It was either 31 or 30.
You're right, at 31 and a half or something.
Like 31 and a half. Like, that's what it is. 3 of the final 4 last 2 seasons have been the top scoring teams in the league. So we are here. It was 31.8. Well, we are here at the number 2 pick, and that's where my mind is at. And there's, by the way, just like there's varying views on Shador, there are varying views on Abdul Carter. Not to the sense that he's a second-round pick. Nobody's saying that. But is he generational? Is he really good? Is he slightly undersized for this defense? Could he be dominant? Are there questions about him during the week? Are there questions about his injuries? Yes. So it's not like he's a slam. He's Miles.
He played edge for 13 games.
I think he's really good.
So do I. I'm just saying he played edge for 13 games. Like this, Shador Sanders started 2 years at Colorado.
Yeah.
At quarterback. Like
yeah.
So like yes, I heard someone doing this yesterday on a mock. Oh, it was Field Yates was doing a mock draft on ESPN. He was talking about I want to say the guy's name Shamir Stewart, I think. He's a defensive end out of Texas A&M.
He's an edge.
Edge out of A&M. And he had him going somewhere at 9. And he goes, only 3 sacks in his career, but there's some twitchy measurables that are generational. What the hell does that mean, man?
I don't know. It's kind of like that's
he's got
Barkevius.
He's got 3 sacks in college, and he's going to somehow. But at the NFL level,
he's going to get 10.
Lights out, baby. So it's all just guesswork.
It is a lot of guesswork, and I think that what isn't guesswork is you cannot win in the league without a quarterback. And number 2, what is not guesswork is you need to score.
Yes.
And we have an opportunity with this pick to take a swing at a quarterback. And look, if there are people, if the Browns are not convicted, if the Browns think like Andy Dalton's the ceiling, which is no disrespect to Andy Dalton, but that's like the ceiling. They think that's the best case outcome. I could understand if they didn't pull the trigger at number 2. But to me, you have an opportunity then to get the best offensive player in the draft.
Yeah. It wasn't even.
So why wouldn't you do that?
Of course. And it wasn't. The reason I wanted to do it wasn't necessarily to say that I think Shedeur is at his best, Andy Dalton, or at his ceiling.
No, and that was meant in some ways as a slight.
It was meant as a. The reason I did it was meant as a slight where I heard it.
100%.
Like, you're really going to take Andy Dalton number 2 overall? Well, let me tell you something.
And no offense to Tim Hasselbeck, but he would have loved to have been Andy Dalton.
He would have died to be Andy Dalton. 4 playoff appearances. How many 10-win seasons to start it? Did I have
4,
there?
and they had at least 1 or 2 division titles, at least.
Yes. And 3 Pro Bowl appearances. Double-digit wins at quarterback 4 straight years.
In this division.
10-6, 11-5, 10-5, 10-3.
Yep.
Consecutively.
Yep.
So, like, it was meant as like, well, you can't take that at number 2. Why not? By the way, the if you want to say that, and I've heard people say this about in terms of, Shedeur and like the Bo Nix category, right? So Nix went 12 last year to Denver. I don't think there's anybody on the planet who thinks that Bo Nix is Josh Allen or Lamar Jackson or Patrick Mahomes, or even Justin Herbert.
No,
that's not it. But here's what Bo Nix did last year. He went 10-7 in the starter. He completed 66% of his passes, 37-75, 29 touchdowns, 12 picks.
Yeah.
Can I interest you in that?
Yeah. You could sign me up right now. Yes.
Does that work?
Yes,
folks?
That works.
I don't know.
That works.
Now all of a sudden Denver goes into this and people are saying, look out for Denver this year. Now they're going to stockpile these picks. They're going to build around Nix. He's on a rookie contract. Okay, let's go. Here come the Broncos. Nobody with the Broncos is sitting there going like, yeah, but can he beat Josh Allen?
None. They knew that.
That's not the job. We're not at the point where that's the job.
Sure.
We were at the point where that's the job when we decided to take the swing at Deshaun. That's when we were at that point.
Yep.
Where we had all these young stars, all young.
Yes.
And we said, Bake's
That's
good,
what
but
we need.
He's not beating Burrow. He's not going to go win in Kansas City.
Yes.
And you're coming off a guy who led the NFL in passing the last full season he played, and you said we got a chance to get a generational. Let's get him. Didn't work out. His ownership said, fine. But that's why that swing was taken. We're not at that point now.
Yes. Correct. And that's why I think you need to explore that thoroughly. If you don't come out, if the decision makers here don't believe that he can be,
there's one of them.
That.
What would I give to just 5 minutes of truth talk?
Come
True
here,
serum.
come here, come here,
True
come
serum.
right
5
here.
minutes.
Come
5
right
minutes.
here.
True
No,
serum.
he's not
Nothing.
doing it.
Sad.
No,
Hate to
sad.
see it.
Yeah,
Hate to see it.
You can't force it. I understand
No, of course.
that.
I'm not saying that.
But where I'm at now, and like on some ways, and I don't know if it's based on nothing, but I would take him. Mm-hmm. Then give me Travis Hunter. Because I've heard a lot of people who people are citing as guys that maybe aren't as high on Shedeur are the same people that have Travis Hunter would be the clear and away number 1 receiver if he was just listed as a receiver in this draft. Mm-hmm. Plus, he can give you maybe some extra benefits. Plus, I think he's exciting and dynamic, and he'll help out whoever it is, whether it is Kenny Pickett or at that point, if it is a bridge quarterback, whatever it is, it helps you do what you have to do to compete in this league, which is score.
Yeah.
I know that there are certain people that are like, that the notion that it's Abdul Carter and then everybody else in this draft,
it's just
I don't know anybody who believes that.
No.
And by the way, if it is that, he's going to go 1, and this is all going to work out, and we're going to get Cam Ward, and this has been a giant bluff from Tennessee. And by the way, fine. Thrilled.
Yeah.
Happy to be the case. Happy. So
we did have some quick NFL news. The Patriots traded quarterback Joe Milton for a 7th-round pick to the Cowboys, exchanged for a 5th in this year's draft.
Milton and a 7th, yeah.
Milton and a 7th for a 5th is the deal there.
I love that for the Dallas Cowboys. And, look, a lot of people really wanted the Browns to take a shot on Milton. I know he was here for a 30 visit last year. Obviously, we have pretty good connections to Tennessee. Mm-hmm. Played with Cedric Tillman, right?
Yep. Yeah, probably.
He would have had to.
Yeah, he would have. Yeah.
How many years was he the quarterback at Tennessee?
Well, he started at Michigan, then he went to Tennessee. I think he was only the quarterback at Tennessee 1 year, I think. but it could be wrong.
I don't think he did.
He didn't play with Tillman?
No, I think
I'm
they.
not sure if he did or not. I thought
he was only a 1 year
he was with-
starter there.
Tillman had the big year. He might have had the big year with Milton. There was another quarterback who was in there when they had Hendon Hooker. Or Hendon Hooker was the quarterback. Was he the quarterback there?
So
Hendon Hooker was the quarterback there, and they brought him in, and he upset, or he took the spot from Milton, I think, is how that went.
Okay.
I think.
I'm going to look it up right now.
But, yeah, you showed some pretty good intel on that.
Nonetheless, I mean, our connections to that school are pretty
strong.
Yeah, pretty strong.
All right. It is a Mailbag Thursday. Get those questions in, and we will get to those in the 2 o'clock hour. Coming up at 2 o'clock, Bruce Feldman will join the program on his most recent mock.
Milton really was only the starter in 23, so no. But he was there with him. He was in the building. In 22, he threw for 971, 10 touchdowns, no picks. And the year before, he played threw 60 passes.
Yeah.
But so they would have at least been on the roster together, so you'd have some at least a knowledge of that for sure.
All right, coming up next, we play a little better or worse with Daniel Jeremiah and his top 50 prospects. That's coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Add more fun to your fan with the Ballybet Sportsbook app. Download today. Get 50 back in bonus bets when you place your first wager of 10 or more. Ballybet is your official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time for a little higher, lower, better, or worse. Daniel Jeremiah, his top 50 prospects 4.0. Now, I understand that you can do a mock draft 4.0. I don't understand that you can do a top 50 prospects 4.0 because you are a scout.
Yep.
The tape is finite.
Yep.
What's changed? So the top 50 prospects, that's a tough one. I understand having a bunch of mock drafts because you don't know, information changes, how teams view players, that changes. But like your prospect list should be your prospect list.
The top 50 prospect list should come out after the combine. And
Yeah,
that's
and
it.
that's
till
the
draft.
one. There's nothing. Yeah, or you want to wait pro days? I guess you could wait pro days on it. But yeah, that's it.
But here we are.
Here we are.
I do have a little bit of schedule news that's come out here in the last few minutes regarding our off-season program.
Are you kidding? I heard that you know how the NFL was doing like those marketing places and like we got Nigeria and Pittsburgh's got like 4 countries and some other places have various countries. I think somebody got Greece. Oh, Los Angeles got Greece.
Yeah.
As like theirs. I think we got to just start claiming countries.
How about
as
Australia?
Ours would be great. We'd thrive in Australia. I know.
Well,
I
obviously.
think Los Angeles has Australia, but I feel like we could usurp them quite quickly. Los Angeles's territories are spread pretty thin. They've got the Rams in like 8 countries. We right now are only in Nigeria. That's it. Like, let's just start claiming countries.
Greenland?
Am I wrong? Iceland. See, it's inverted. You want the one with the ice. That's the one that you want. Know what I mean?
I don't even know how to respond to that.
Qatar?
I like it.
What about Qatar? Can I have that?
Cutter.
Some are saying. Why can't I have Qatar?
You can.
Let's claim it.
Claim it.
Browns,
Fine.
Qatar, done.
Fine.
New Zealand?
Definitely New Zealand.
Thrive in New Zealand.
Lord of the Rings.
You've been there.
Been there. It's great.
Heard
Wellington.
they got great whitewater rafting, some of the best in
Some
the
of
world.
the best. Some of the best.
Our team players can report off-season program begins April 22nd.
All right.
OTAs May 27th through June 6th. Mandatory minicamp June 10th through the 12th.
June
I don't
13th.
feel like it's as long.
10th.
June.
We're a week later on the mandatory minicamp.
Holy hell, man.
But I
then
mean,
we
think about it. 3 months.
Man.
That is it.
Maybe it'll stop raining by then.
Yeah, maybe.
Maybe my golf ball will roll more than 20 yards.
I
don't
tell you
think
what,
so.
when you get out to play a little desert golf, as we were playing last week.
Dude.
Oh, baby.
It's great.
Oh, baby.
Elevation. Yeah. Rolling. Yeah. It looks like what it does on TV when the pros are playing. It like bounces and it keeps
Yeah.
rolling and running.
What a time to be alive.
Having played Mesquite, Nevada,
Yeah.
I can second that. No
Choice. Incredible choices.
That's the one I was talking about.
That I didn't know that. Yeah.
Was it-
That's
was it-
my
was it
first
pretty good
visual.
disc-
Nailed it. I believe you nailed it.
Yeah.
A little
believe I
higher or
did.
lower. This is Daniel Jeremiah's top 50 prospects.
All right.
I guess the bigger challenge is who are your top 10 prospects? Forget about like trying to rank his. Like, who would be your top 10?
I mean,
All right, so I think you have to do that in there's a couple of ways. This is why every time that we have one of the, and I'll have Feldman, we know what Feldman does. He talks to people around the sport,
Yeah.
But like, you have to set the ground rules of how you're defining that. Like, if I were the general manager of an NFL football team,
yeah.
and my pick in the first round, and I had one of the top 10 picks in the first round, or if I had the number 1 pick overall, and I had to pick the guy that, like, all right, you could continue to be employed here if this guy is a really good NFL player, and you're fired if he's not, then I would take Travis Hunter number 1.
Yes.
I just see no scenario how Travis Hunter doesn't thrive
In one of the two
in
positions.
one of the two spots or maybe at both. I think at the worst case scenario with Travis Hunter, he's like a Percy Harvin receiver
Returner.
and a return guy. Worst case, it's that. I don't see any scenario how Percy Harvin busts. So he would. I'm sorry, how Travis Hunter would bust.
He's a better receiver than Percy Harvin.
Yeah, I agree.
Yeah.
But so I would have him 1.
Yeah.
He'd be the lock. Everybody else, like for example, so I guess there's no way that I could do like a 1 through 10, but I would be arbitrary for me to do it. I would just tell you that, like, I think Ashton Genty is going to be a really good pro.
Yep.
I wouldn't take him at 2, probably, because the difference between him and Travion Henderson or Quinshon Judkins or the Omarion Hampton kid
There's
from
10
North
guys with
Carolina,
draft grades.
Yeah,
it
there's
might
so
not be
many
that
good
big
ones.
of a difference.
Yep.
But do I think if Ashton Genty is drafted, I don't even know the entire draft order beyond ours, but like if there is a team that like what
Goes to
Saquon
the
Barkley.
Raiders at 6.
Well, let me give me a second. All right, so let's say, okay, well, they don't really need it. All right, Bears at 10.
Okay, that was in a mock we saw this
Yeah,
morning.
they got
Okay.
Hampton in a mock.
So let's say the Bears are at 10, and they have those receivers, and they have Caleb Williams, and now all of a sudden I got Ashton Genty. Yeah,
yeah.
Let's go.
That's going to work.
Or Hampton. I've seen mocks where they take Hampton that early.
Yeah, but the Cowboys at 12. I mean,
So-
like all those things. Would
So what I've heard is that most people, and I've heard this from a few people around the league, think that there are like 6 or 7 blue chip players in this draft, and that they're Hunter, Carter, Genty, Graham. Some people have Jalen Walker in that. Some people have the tight end
Tyler Warren.
Tyler Warren. Some people have Will Campbell.
There's no Harold fan.
No Harold Fannin, no. But that's like that's it. Like that's the list of like blue chip guys, and the Cam Ward is just outside of that.
Yeah.
And then some people really like Jihad Campbell. Some people really like Colston Loveland, although I've seen him go later in some of these drafts. The Texas corner.
John A. Barron.
Yep. You see sometimes people will talk about, not in the blue chip, but just kind of that next group. Hampton, the kid you were talking about, Shamar Stewart.
Yeah.
T-Mac, who has seemed to have kind of fallen in this whole process as it's gone on.
I feel like all the wide receivers have dropped. I've seen now Ibuka, like, he's been mocked in 4 or 5 picks into the second round in some of these latest mocks. I'm like, what are we doing here?
Yeah.
I'd be happy to take him at 33 if he were on the board.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. Yeah, so like I think that's the thing that's so difficult about this is like for example, so the 2 guys who are universally at the top are Hunter and Abdul Carter, right?
Yep.
They're the 2 that they've been at the top. I'm on the NFL I'm on ESPN's page right now, like best available. They take all of their stuff and they come up with the thing, and they have Abdul Carter as number 1.
Yep.
And he may end up being that way. He may. But it's also a guy who played 13 games as an edge in his life. It's a guy who was injured.
Yeah.
He was injured, right? He's a little undersized. And so I see people say, oh, he's Micah Parsons. Here's the thing. Nobody knew Micah Parsons was Micah Parsons when he was drafted. Micah Parsons was not the first pick in the draft.
Well, like 11th, I want to say.
Right, like 11th or 12th.
Correct.
So anybody who's looking back going, oh, gosh, he's Micah Parsons. Well, what was Micah Parsons coming out of Penn State?
People didn't necessarily know what he was going to be.
They didn't know what he was.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's why it's tough.
The whole thing is tough. I could not be more ready for this draft. Like I wish today. Is today Thursday?
Yeah.
Today is 3
So
weeks.
3 weeks from
today.
today. Like I wish it was tonight.
It's 3 weeks still?
I wish it was tonight. Let's go. Let's draft it up right now.
Body bag. 3 more weeks.
I
We got to
know.
get this sucker in.
You know what's funny is we kind of.
You know when they should do it? They should do it this weekend.
Yeah, it'd be great.
They should do it the Thursday and Friday leading into the Final Four. So you go first round tonight, second, third tomorrow. Saturday start.
done by
Saturday it's
3.
done by 6.
Okay.
Tip at 6:10.
Tip at 6:10 right
Yep.
into the Final Four.
Yep.
That's when they should do it this weekend.
Yep. And then Masters.
And then Masters, and then you're good.
Yeah.
They should do it this weekend.
At a minimum, it should be the weekend after the Masters. Move it up a week.
Very minimum, yeah.
But yeah, I'm with you. It's funny, we have not had the joy of having an early pick in quite some time. I also have forgotten, Gibbe probably remembered, but I had forgotten just how polarizing even talking about the draft can be and how animated people get about particular things. Now, in this case, you'd say, Nathan, what you're animated about. I am. We need to score. We need to score the football. Our biggest deficiency is scoring the football. It's also one of the hardest things to do in the league is to be a top defense year after year after year after year. That just doesn't happen anymore. So give me weapons. My mock drafts will continue to have us take nothing but offensive players in the first 4 rounds. We could roll out a darn good NFL defense right now. And last year, I know our numbers weren't good, but guess what? That's because we had the worst offense. And I think that affects a defense in a great many ways.
Yeah.
But like right now,
A lot of 3 and outs, brother.
if we had to start right now, you got Miles on one end, Isaiah McGuire on the other end. You've got Mike Hall, and you've got, why is his name eluding me right now? Malik Collins, who we just signed. There, your linebackers, you'd have Jordan Hicks and Devin Bush. You'd have Denzel Ward. You'd have Greg Newsome. You'd have MJ Emerson. You'd have Grant Delpit, and you'd have Ronnie Hickman.
Let's go play ball.
And we could play ball with that group right now. And we even have depth. Certainly, we have depth at defensive end because you got returning Alex Wright. You've got Obo Okoronkwo. You've got Joe Tryon-Shoyinka. Not tremendous depth at linebacker, and obviously JOK coming back is a big part of that for sure. But you have guys who have played for you in the past. You got, Diabate, who played for you very well, Winston Reed, Buki Watson. You got some of those young guys there. Am I forgetting somebody? For some reason, I wanted to say somebody else, but
I don't think so.
no.
It's been a while since we've done this exercise, and we've added players here and there.
Corners,
Time, so
you
it's
got
hard to
Cam
remember.
Mitchell as your fourth. Safety, I think you need to add somebody for sure. But you, like right now, you're rolling out there. That defense is fine. Offensively, we're not fine. We are not fine. You need 2 quarterbacks. You need 2 running backs. You need 1 or 2 tight ends, and you probably need 2 wide receivers.
Yeah, that ain't it.
And you probably need
A tackle.
a tackle. Like, part of me says, let's
You need 7 guys.
bring back
at least
Elijah
offensively.
Moore, bring back Nick Chubb, and bring back Jed Wills. And boom, right now you're down to, now I need 2 quarterbacks, and bring back Joe Flacco while we're at it.
Yeah.
All right, now I need 1 quarterback, 1 running back, 1 wide receiver, a tight end. Now it's a lot. I can completely turn this whole thing around. I don't know. And there's just so much. There's a lot of time. There's a lot going on. The other thing, too, is if we're talking about a situation where, and again, I don't know what it is, if this is the real, but let's say we go Kenny Pickett and let's say Kirk Cousins. Let's just say that's the way this ends up. You better get Kirk Cousins some weapons.
Oh, dude, that keeps getting missed. That keeps getting missed in all this.
Like, getting Travis
we're gonna
Hunter is more important than getting Abdul Carter if you bring Kirk Cousins in.
There is no doubt. And then some.
And then some.
You better get a weapon at 33. You need a running back here. You need
67.
You
Yep.
need game changers. A
Yep.
lot of them.
You probably could get, if you signed Elijah Moore, drafted Hunter, so then your top 4 receivers would be Judy, Hunter, Tillman, Elijah Moore are your top 4 receivers. Feel good about that. At 33, I think you have a chance to get a stud tight end,
Yeah.
or a stud running back. And then 67, I think you have a chance to get a good tight end or probably a stud running back. Mm-hmm. And then all of a sudden, it's a totally different, now it's a whole different ballgame.
Yeah. All right.
And they bring, if you're going for Cousins, obviously you don't need Joe Flacco, then you're going to draft, you're going to try to get a McCord or a Will Howard or somebody
Right.
to at least
Third,
give you.
4th round guy.
Yeah. But if it is going to be Kirk Cousins, we have got to get him weapons.
Very interesting week down in Cincinnati. We'll have that story for you coming up next. You'll listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Elk & Elk Serious Lawyers, serious injuries. Call 1-800-ELK Ohio for a free case review. Elk & Elk's proud partner of your Cleveland Browns. Very interesting week for Katie Blackburn, the daughter of Mike Brown, and in ownership in Cincinnati down there. Do you want to do the Hendrickson one first or the stadium thing first?
Hendrickson.
Okay. So she made some comments about Trey Hendrickson, about how at some point he's got to be happy. He should be happy. He's got to be happy. It reminded me of a line in the cinematic masterpiece Smokey and the Bandit, where Buford T. Justice says to a couple of young invalids, you can think about it, but don't do it.
Yep.
That's what she should have done. You can think about that, but when you say it out loud, the goodwill of paying T. Higgins and Jamar Chase now makes it look petulant, and it seems nonsensical, and you seem cheap, even though, quite honestly, they've had a very good offseason. So Trey Hendrickson went on McAfee, and I think that's the soundbite we have here, right? So this is Trey Hendrickson on McAfee answering for her comments.
That was a little disappointing because communication has been poor over the last couple of months. That's something that I hold in high regard. They have not communicated with my agent directly. It's been something that's been a little bit frustrating, but again, this is the business of it. I'm incredibly blessed to be in the NFL. And I'm excited to be a Bengal, right? To have a year, right, that I have, remaining on my contract. We can get into that real quick. Last year and the year before, I've been talking about long-term contract, guaranteed money, things like that. And it was discussed with me in a meeting, which I'm very fortunate to have had with my agent, that we would get something done this year. So that being said, last year, go out and play to the level you have, we'll get it done. That was communicated with me. So that basically, this year is going to get worked on. They also reiterated that at the Combine. So that just kind of clears the air on that. And moving forward, the happiness of my camp, they are more than welcome to call me. I've had my cell phone, same cell phone number since high school. Open line of communication is always open with me and my agents. So if they have anything they'd like to discuss, we've been nothing but willing to listen.
This is the second instance where a player in Cincinnati has gone public with, they told me they would take care of me and they didn't. The first time it was Jamar Chase, and it cost him however many million guaranteed and at least $6 million a year average on the contract by not getting it done sooner. And now this is the second example of that, is the way I read that.
Agreed. And to do it publicly, one thing that players always talk about, and players shouldn't do, you don't talk about somebody else's money, and they'll be like, well, you should be happy with this.
Oh, jeez.
That's not a very good negotiation tactic.
No.
It's not going to be met well. And it's not going to be met well by people in that locker room who know, like, and respect Trey Hendrickson, not only as a player, but as a person. And by the way, correct me if I'm wrong, did he not just lead the league in sacks?
He did. Yeah, That's right. Real quickly, the other thing that happened was Katie Blackburn, had some comments where she said, and I think the important thing is, I'd be interested in the question leading into this, because my hunch is the question leading into it is it true that you guys could opt out and have a new landing spot by 2026? That's my guess what the question was leading into it. So I don't think this one is, I think Florio took mini molehill and turned it into a mountain. I don't think this is much. She said we could, I guess, go wherever we wanted after this year if we didn't pick up the option. So we'll see. All these things will be done in due course. They don't have an option. There's not a stadium plan. There's not anything. They're going to opt into this plan. They're going to opt in for at least 2 more years. It'll all happen in June, and then they'll be in until, I think, 28, 29, something like that. But the county also has an option through 36. So this is one of those things where I think this was taken wildly out of context by Pro Football Talk and tried to turn it
try to make it
more than it was.
Yeah.
They're not going anywhere. It's long and short of it. So they're not. That's really wasn't part of it. But I the first one was a pretty good mess up. But the second one I think was told without context, is kind of the way that goes. All right, Bruce Feldman going to join us. His latest mock draft, always an interesting one, because what he does is base it on what he's hearing from the coaches. So we will have that for you in a couple of minutes. Listen to Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. All right, welcome back in. Cleveland Browns Daily, presented by Ballybet, official sports betting partner of your Cleveland Browns. Time to head on that Twisted Tea hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. He is Bruce Feldman, our old buddy of The Athletic and Fox Sports, and he joins us now. Your annual mock draft, my friend, your fifth annual. One of the interviews we so look forward to every year this time of year is yours because of the unique nature in which you go about putting this together. Share for us, if you will, sir, your perspective and how you come to the mock draft that you put out every year.
Thank you guys for having me back. What I'm trying to do is for fans of NFL teams, maybe you're a big college football fan, maybe you're not. And I think there's a lot of, really good draft analysts out there. But what I'm really trying to do is show people who these players are from the perspective of the guys who know them best. And that are the coaches who had them, but also the real, crux of the analysis comes from the coaches who scouted them, game planned against them, and actually faced them in games. So they knew what they were trying to do to neutralize them or to take them out of the game or to mitigate them as best they could. Or they, would see them on crossover film and had deep perspective on them. So they knew what was kind of coming at them. And that's where a lot of the intel comes from here. And I felt like it's probably one of the truer ways to get a sense of their worth as prospects. Doesn't mean that the fits are always going to be great. And I'm not going to try to tell people that this is coming from, a fly on the wall of the actual team's decision makers. This is more from people really gathering the intel on what they think of these guys as actual players and prospects.
Okay, so to that end, we're taking a look at this mock draft that you have, the great Bruce Feldman on with us. One of the things that Nathan and I notice at the Combine every year is usually there is a consensus that comes out of it. There are certainties that you can take from it. And what's interesting is coming out of the Combine, the feeling was the Tennessee Titans are either trading or taking Abdul Carter, but they're not taking a quarterback. And the Cleveland Browns, for whom we work, are definitely taking a quarterback at 2. And now here we sit a little more than a month later, and it's much similar to what you have, which is Tennessee taking Cam Ward at 2 and us taking Abdul Carter at Tennessee taking Cam at 1 and then Abdul Carter going 2 to us in this draft. What led you in your conversations about the idea that Tennessee now is going Cam at 1? And if anything at all changed, or maybe nothing did, maybe it was Liar's Poker back at the Combine, what got them there with him at 1?
I think the more you study and the more people you talk to about Cam Ward, you think, would he have been the first quarterback taken or the second or even the third last year? Probably not. But he is, if you are going to take a quarterback, this guy is head and shoulders above the rest of them. He's got really good arm talent. The ball comes out quick. He's really good in the RPO game. The coaches at Miami rave about his competitiveness, his leadership, what he brings to them. Now, the parts where you kind of hold your breath on is he can be very reckless with the football. That was the knock on him for a while. There was still some of that in his game at Miami. But I'll say this, Miami had been pretty mediocre for the last 20 years. And he brought them a spark, and if it wasn't for their defense being atrocious, he would have made them a playoff team. Even in the games that they lost, if you go back and look at it, in the 3 losses, 8 touchdowns, 0 picks. The people who faced them just thought that, yes, there's a lot of backyard football stuff, but he was really frustrating to play against because of how he can extend plays, and a lot of the stuff he can do, I think, does bode well if he continues to mature. And remember, this was a guy who was not a high-level prospect coming out of high school. He didn't play in a big passing game in high school in Texas. It was a wing T. He started out his career at an FCS school, Incarnate Word, which most people had never heard of. Then he was prolific and did well there, transferred to Washington State, did well there, and then went to Miami and kept getting better. He's played a lot of football. I think people see him as, you know what, you don't want to pass up on him if you need a quarterback, and that's why I think he would be too tempting if you're the Titans sitting there with the number 1 pick and you really do need a quarterback.
So you have the Titans going Cam Ward there. You mentioned that Cam Ward is the best quarterback head and shoulders above everybody else. You have Shador going 3. What kind of the sense you get from people about Shador Sanders that obviously you don't have him going to the Browns at 2, who absolutely need a quarterback every bit as much as the Giants. What kind of, or maybe even in this case, more right now that Russ and Jameis are there. What are people telling you about Shador Sanders, and where do you see him ultimately going?
They like that, he's really smart and that he's really tough. He took a ton of sacks. He played behind a really bad offensive line. It was horrible his first year there in 2023. It was a little better, but still pretty bad last year. But he does take a lot of sacks. He holds on to the ball too long. He's accurate on the move, very accurate. But I don't think there's like elite arm talent. There's a drop-off between him and Cam Ward in that regard. Athletically, some of the stuff that people would see last year with Caleb Williams, where he had the ability to extend plays and would hang in the pocket and scramble around and keep his eyes downfield. The difference is Caleb is a better athlete than Shador. One guy's probably a high 4.5 guy. The other guy's probably a high 4.7 guy. And Caleb is still getting run down in the NFL. So Shador, it's definitely not going to that part's not going to translate well in the NFL. I think he's a first-round quarterback. I don't think he's a top 5 kind of guy. And I think there is some concern. Now, as bad as his offensive line was, he had really good receivers. Travis Hunter is an elite talent, and then the other guys around there. Jimmy Horn Jr. was a terrific college receiver. LeJontay Webster, really good college receiver. So it wasn't like he didn't have good playmakers outside. He just had a really bad offensive line. I think there is a lot to like with Shador. As I said, really smart, really tough. He's pretty accurate. I just don't think if you're talking about a top 5 pick, I think that's where maybe it's a little too rich in terms of the buy-in to get him there. But, if you desperately need a quarterback and you want to take one, I think people probably lean to him over Jackson Dart. But to me, from everybody I've talked to, I think there's a bigger gap between Cam Ward and the next guy than there is between Shador and Jackson Dart or the next guy. I think 2-3 is closer than it is than 1-2 when it comes to quarterbacks.
And a lot of people have felt that way, and it feels like over time that's become a 1 quarterback draft. There does seem to be 2 non-quarterbacks that everybody agrees are the top 2 in this draft. One on defense, Abdul Carter. One potentially on defense, I suppose, but maybe some people view him more as a receiver in Travis Hunter. What can you tell us about those 2 and just kind of the consensus around them?
When it comes to Abdul Carter, you have a freaky athlete who's going to run in the 4.4s at 250 plus pounds. He was the Big Ten Defensive Player last year. Now remember, it was really his first season as an edge rusher. He'd been a linebacker before that, and the coaches I talked to noticed he got a lot better as the year went on. I mean, they knew he was fast and explosive with great get off. He gets compared sometimes to Micah Parsons. Similar size guys, both came from Penn State. The coaches I talked to thought he was a little more, actually his game was like Von Miller. And then he's a little more bendier, probably plays probably not quite as physical as Micah Parsons. I think him paired opposite Myles Garrett would be a great fit for him, and I think he would continue to blossom, and I think he has a chance to be really disruptive.
Bruce, I want to bring it back
to Travis Hunter.
Oh, go ahead. I cleared your throat. Go ahead on Travis.
No, as for Travis, I think Travis is the best athlete in this draft. He is a rare talent. You just don't see guys, as great as Charles Woodson was, as great as Champ Bailey was. They dabbled on offense. They didn't play anywhere near as much or as well as he did on that side of the ball. The coaches I talked to thought he would be probably more value as a cornerback because it's just harder to find elite cornerbacks than it is to find elite receivers. But he's super football smart, really instinctive, great ball skills. I think he'll be a terrific player at either, but I would think he'll probably have more value at cornerback playing some at receiver and vice versa.
Bruce, I want to bring it back to Shador for a second. When when you compare, and you watch a ton of college football, it's interesting too, because it's not just that the offensive line wasn't very good at Colorado. They were at best disinterested in even attempting to running the ball. I actually thought former Buckeye Dallin Hayden would have made a bigger impact there, because he flashed sometimes at Ohio State and was really a non-factor for them at all. They just didn't try to run it at all. I was curious your view of him, and when you talk to people around him, it's a two-parter. One, like compared to like Penix and Nix from the previous year, and then how much, when you talk to people, is there a concern about Deion Sanders being his dad and what comes with all of that, the podcasts, all of the stuff that comes with all of the things that they do? And the reason I ask that, because obviously you make your hay covering college football. It was something that they managed at Colorado, but that certainly is an outpost. What are you getting when you talk to coaches with Shedeur beyond the football stuff? And then the first part of that was, how does he compare to Nix, Penix, and those guys, Drake May, those guys in last year's draft?
I don't think he compares. Like, Penix could throw the heck out of the ball. Like, some of the coaches I talked to faced all those guys, because remember, both Cam Ward and Shedeur were Pac-12 quarterbacks in 2023. And so some of those coaches faced all of them except for Drake May, because remember, they'd seen Jaden Daniels earlier in his career when he was at ASU. Yep. Penix threw it way better than Shedeur. Nix, I think, was a little cleaner than Shedeur, but again, he played behind a really good offensive line. As you said, Shedeur did not at all. So I think he's a harder evaluation. The Deion piece is something significant, and it was a weird dynamic, but I think at the same time, I think you have a really smart kid, and I think there was just a lot of, a lot of very, it was an outpost. It was just different than anything you covered in college football. Mm-hmm. I think it'll be much different for him in the NFL, because you can't have it that way. But I think it's not like Deion is going there to coach him.
No.
I don't know if Deion Jr., who is the older brother, who was really one of the big, always had a camera around. There was always cameras around. I just don't think you're going to get that model in the NFL, and I think that'll stay in Colorado. And I think, how Shedeur adapts to it, I think he'll adapt to life in an NFL locker room pretty well, because my understanding on him from people who've been around him is he's a mature kid, he is a smart kid, and he'll get it. And so, I've heard, not that you asked this, I've heard, exemplary things when it comes to Travis Hunter in that regard. He's younger, but I think that they'll know, hey, we're not in Colorado anymore. This is a different game that we're in, so I think it'll be much different.
Outside, you mentioned Jackson Dart. I'm curious, kind of what is the talk around Jackson Dart, because he is unique, I think, in some ways, where he's got some great tape, he's got some questionable tape, but a lot of his production really came in 4 games that really padded his stats. And in the SEC at times, multiple games under 60% completions. What do you make of Dart, and what's kind of the take on him? Because he also had a little bit of a unique situation there in Ole Miss in terms of the offense that he was running and how that'll translate to the NFL.
He did. I like him. I don't know. The one trait people seem to love about him is his toughness.
Yep.
I think he has good leadership skills. The thing that would give me some pause is that team felt like it underachieved a little bit. Like, they didn't make the playoff. They lost to a bad Kentucky team at home, lost to a pretty mediocre Florida team. You wanted to see him be better in over that. I wouldn't put all of that on him, but I think there was, a little bit like Cam Ward, where you worried about how well he took care of the football over his career. I think he got better at that as he went on with a lot of football. I do think he can be a starting NFL quarterback. I don't know if he can be an upper level NFL quarterback in terms of accuracy and some of the things you need to see, but I could see him as a starter in the NFL, and he's a good athlete. I don't think he gets enough credit for how athletic and how tough he is.
Bruce, it's the dangest thing, isn't it, this sport? If you go back a year ago at this time and you looked at way too early mock drafts for this year, it would have been Carson Beck, who's currently at the University of Miami. It would have been Quinn Ewers, probably. Would have been very highly regarded. Shedeur is the one constant, like he remains. As someone who covers the college game as closely as you did, when you think about Quinn Ewers, who came out of, and this gets into kind of that second-tier quarterback guy because you don't hear his name mentioned much, and I watched him play a lot, and we had him in Columbus, and so saw it firsthand, even albeit for a short period. This is a guy who is perfect prospect. A lot of people thought inevitably the number one pick in the draft. It's just tough with this young gestation period of young quarterbacks in college trying to decide a kid at 19 what they're going to be at 22. So let's take Quinn as the specific. How did that ball of clay not elicit what everyone thought it would?
It's a great question. I'm with you. I remember going to do a game where Quinn was like, he never had a chance to beat out CJ and be the starting quarterback there, like at that point, especially when he got there. But, he played at a high power, prolific high school in Texas. At one point, as you alluded to, he was like the highest ranked quarterback in like the modern recruiting era, at least by the recruiting sites. I think if you looked at him, he's not like an elite athlete. No one ever would think he's a dual threat guy. He's fairly limited athletically. And you'd see that at times, like watch the Georgia games, 2 of them. He really struggles when he has to, when it gets to be unscripted. Now I think he's got a good arm. I mean, it's not Josh Allen's arm. It's not Justin Herbert's arm, but it's a good arm. He played in a good system. The thing I wonder about when people watch him, because I've talked to a lot of people about him who think he's like a 4th round talent in their 3rd to 5th round grade, was he playing? He looked really good when they played Michigan in week 2. It was on the road. Michigan, they had a good plan for Michigan. Michigan has, probably 3 first-round picks on that defense that played. He looked good in that game. Then he hurt his oblique, and he played, and he never seemed like he was, I don't know if he was playing hurt or just wasn't close to 100%. He didn't seem like the same guy. There were moments in his career when he played Alabama early in his career, played a good quarter of football, and then he got hurt, and then he played good the next year when they played him. But it's fairly inconsistent. And I think he had a pretty good career, but again, you're talking about a 5-star guy who was never like an all-conference quarterback, much less all-American. It felt a little underwhelming compared to height. I think he'll be on an NFL roster. I just don't know if I'd look at him and think, okay, he's going to be an NFL starter beyond just filling in here or there. I don't know if there's anything to look at and go, yeah, you could totally see it. Because again, the athleticism is not by huge NFL standards. That's not a plus. And then even when people look at him, I think there's something about just kind of, nothing really pops, with him. Wild. So his arm is pretty good. It's not bad, but you want to see when is his best football going to come.
The Buckeyes have a lot of people in this draft that probably could go in the first round or right around where the Browns pick at 33. Abuka, the running backs. You have the Browns trade up for Josh Simmons in your mock draft at number 26, the tackle there. What can you tell us about some of these Ohio State prospects? And it feels like there are a lot of them, not to mention the quarterback who could be a later pick and a guy who was recently a quarterback for them, Kyle McCord, that it feels like some people are interested in as a later quarterback option.
Yeah, it's an interesting dynamic because obviously the best talent in Columbus is still there. That's Jeremiah Smith. Even Caleb Downs, I think, would have gone higher. But then you look, you talk to people in Columbus who know, on the staff, and they think if Josh Simmons was healthy all year, he could be a top 10 offensive lineman. He's super athletic. I thought he got a lot better, and he really developed, especially over the last year at Ohio State. Abuka, I think, if he goes late in the first round, will be a great value. I don't think people realize he's bigger than. I think people assume he's like a smaller slot. Don't realize just how big he is. He's played a ton of football. He's super football smart. I think he will be a guy who catches 100 balls some years in the NFL. I think he will be that good. You have guys further down in there, Cody Simon, Donovan Jackson, really good football players. Like I think Cody Simon's gonna be in the NFL for a long time. You talk to like James Laurinaitis, who coached him, who's obviously had a good NFL career himself. You can't shut him up about him. He talks so much about not just the character, but also how athletic he is and what he meant and how he was there. I think there's going to be a lot of really good Ohio State players who have long NFL careers who get drafted somewhere between 25 and 100. You know, you can put both defensive ends in there for sure, in JTT and obviously Jack Sawyer. I think both, you know, Donovan Jackson and Simmons are both really talented offensive linemen, and you know, Donovan Jackson really versatile, really smart. I think he's getting undersold. I mentioned Ibuka. You know, there's guys, you know, Simon Lathan Ransom. I think this is, you know, your quarterback who kind of gets overlooked. I think people don't give him enough credit for how athletic he is. You know, he led them to a national title. I think he will be a guy that probably, I could see him going before Ewers. I think he's a second, third round quarterback, you know, and that doesn't even mention the two running backs who I think Travion Henderson is, you know, is one of the most dynamic players in this draft. And I know, you know, Ohio State coaches really love Quinn Judkins. I mean, I don't know, you could have probably 8 guys I think could go in the top 100. I mean, I think they're those, you know, I don't know if I mentioned 6 or 8 or 9, but I think there's just a cluster of really good, if not great. You know, there's not a guy you'd say, oh, that guy is going to be a top 10 pick. But I think from 25 to 100, it's going to be a lot of Buckeyes getting called off.
Bruce, we always look forward to it. We appreciate your perspective greatly. Thank you so much for your time, pal.
My pleasure. Thank you, guys.
All right, there he goes. Bruce Feldman, the Athletic, on the Twisted Tea Hotline, presented by Twisted Tea Hard Iced Tea, official sponsor of your Cleveland Browns. Keep it twisted, Cleveland. It's important to note this. He mentioned Will Howard, Buckeye quarterback. Will Howard, Pennsylvania high school quarterback, was not offered a scholarship by Penn State and had to go to K-State and was really kind of ready to be benched at K-State before he entered the portal, was viewed kind of undraftable. Ohio State took a flyer on him. They wanted Gabriel, reached in on Gabriel, ran on Riley Leonard. Will was in their mix, but he probably wasn't their first choice in the portal. All the rest of it happens is going to be a second or third round pick, wins a national championship, could be elected mayor of Columbus anytime he wants to be. Conversely, Quinn Ewers was a perfect quarterback prospect coming out of high school.
Yep.
Leaves high school a year early because he was trying to do a kombucha deal.
Yep. Get paid.
He was at South Lake Carroll, which is a powerhouse Dallas high school, number 1 team in the country. Leaves a year early, force feeds himself into a quarterback room that is completely loaded, and gets sick in camp and never really makes his way, and then ends up back at Texas, and now he's going to be drafted behind him. So when I'd say all of that to say, when people say this guy's going to be this, you don't have a damn clue what they're going to be.
Yeah.
You don't know. There's really smart people who miss on this stuff all the time. It's really hard.
It's very hard.
It's the hardest thing you can do in sports is identify quarterback. It's brutal. And I think that illustrates it, what Bruce just said there. All right, you're listening to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. Looking for more ways to connect with the Dog Pound and spoil a furry friend in your life? Join Barking Backers, presented by Milkbone, the Cleveland Browns fan club for dogs. View membership options and join today at barkingbackers.com. Hello, Gibby. Time for a little mailbag?
It is time for the mailbag.
Let's go.
Let's do it. Tweet your questions to at Browns_daily.
Or at Gibby.
Yeah, enough from the clown. My ask for all three of you.
All right.
Choose either a 4-day work week all year round or 8 weeks of unrestricted vacation a year.
It's one or the other?
Yes.
Well,
So, like, you would get no vacation?
Yeah, I take the 8 weeks.
That's what it sounds like in the question.
I think the only way you could do it the other way is it'd have to be even a greater.
So that's 52 Fridays off, which is in essence 10 weeks.
But you could never.
But you can never take a Monday off?
Well, yeah, and you could never like go on a trip.
Right.
So
No.
Hey, clown. Yeah. Question sucked.
I think
It's
giving us right at him. I think
52 days off a year.
I think it is, but it's none of them. Now, if I could take some of them and be like, hey, I'm going to bank these 5 and use them here.
Then I'll keep these Fridays.
And I'll keep these Fridays, and I think I'm into it. But like if it's
an
restricted,
extra 12 days.
if it's restrictive from the standpoint of like this is the
Yeah.
only way you can do it,
Yeah.
what would be the number of days a week that you would take to never have a real vacation? I think you have to, so I guess what I'm saying is if the answer was a 3-day work week
Yeah, isn't that the
and
Howard
4 days
model?
off,
You
then
can do that. You can take a bunch of 4-day vacations.
4-day vacations you could do. You could never go like overseas. You could never go.
Well, that's
but you could get to the Caribbean. You could get to.
You could leave Wednesday night. Or
You
I'm sorry,
could.
yeah, or
Well,
Thursday
not
night.
out of
You could leave
Hopkins.
Thursday night
That
and
means
come back.
if you had a
on
3-day
Monday.
work
If
week,
we lived in O'Hare, if we were outside of Chicago, you
Well,
could. Hopkins,
if you had a 3-day
Good
work
luck.
week, that's 208 days a year that you're not working.
right?
which
But
is
you're
good.
still in this. It is.
But you're only allowed to take 3-night vacations.
Yeah.
I don't know why you can't just bank some of the days.
Well, I think that's why. Otherwise, it's a pretty easy question.
8 weeks of vacation. Couldn't even do that.
The clown knows, by the way, that there's a good back and forth. I fully expect to be ripped apart again for something else. Trey Carey tweets at the show, will there ever be a behind the scenes on making this show? The fans want it. I don't think we're allowed. There was conversation going on during the commercial break that I'm fairly confident
probably
can't see
wouldn't.
the light of day.
Probably wouldn't work. Maybe someday. When we are at OF's feet up, we'll do a podcast series.
Fine.
The CBD years
Fine. 100%.
after the mics went off.
Yeah. Yes.
Who would be interested in that? Can I interest you in the CBD years after the mics went off
Yes.
podcast series?
Yes.
How many episodes would we need for
Can I
that?
include some of the radio network things?
Oh my God!
Can we
Come on,
include-
please? Of course. What do you think? Like 10 episodes, or is that a 20-episode series?
You could do 20 easy.
Yeah, pretty easy.
Easy.
RF UK, who is
I
our-
have plenty of stuff from
Pre.
before.
Yeah, and this is 8 years for us. So
Yeah.
RF UK has always been a big fan of us. I don't understand the love fest Segura has for Sanders. Well, we need a quarterback. RF.
I think that he can deliver the football on time and accurately. I think he's
You
a
just
very
heard
good
Feldman say
processor. I think that he has a lot of things that you look for from a quarterback, especially to run the offense we're going to run. Bo.
Who's the name of this one? Who sent this?
It's RF UK. He sends
trouble
a
there.
yeah,
That's
I
really
know.
close.
No, it's RF and then UK. He's in the UK.
Got it.
So-
Brett, here's what I would say.
He
RF
sends us
UK.
every day.
This is what I would say. This would be my answer to that. Nathan Zagura, the man to my left, studied Shedeur Sanders' actual tape.
I did.
His all-22 tape. Okay, watched a bunch of it and formulated his own opinion on it.
Yeah.
I have watched Shedeur Sanders play probably a dozen full games over the last 2 years of college football and formulated my opinions on that. My pushback to you would be, what have you studied that leads you to believe he won't be? And I don't mean that to seem all-knowing, because I think I illustrated with the Quinn Ewers, Will Howard thing. Nobody knows anything.
Correct.
There are no certainties. But the data that you use to form an opinion, the data that I use to form an opinion, there's reasoning for it. It's not just, I heard he sucks, I don't like his dad. Like, that can't be it.
So the other thing I think with scouting that it really is it's odds. It's saying, here are the traits that I think give this prospect a chance to succeed, and here are the things, the concerns that lead me to believe they might not succeed. And then you're trying to come up with kind of the odds that he can reach his ceiling.
Yeah.
Or not. To me, at the end of the day, playing quarterback comes down to your ability to win from the pocket, to process information, to deliver the football on time and accurately within structure. That's the basis of it. Now we've entered an NFL, and I think that's why you see somebody like Greg Cosell told us if this was an evaluation being done over a decade ago, Shedeur Sanders is top quarterback in this draft, but he believes that because of the pressure packages of defenses now, it's not good enough just to win in structure. Now, there are certain offenses that you're in structure more often than you are in other offenses, and that would be the offense that we're going to run, Shanahan, McVay, Stefanski, O'Connell. And so you need a quarterback that thrives from those situations. And if you were to look at Shedeur from clean pockets, Shedeur was the best quarterback in college football. So there are a lot of reasons to believe that he could do that. One thing that I don't think he's getting any credit for, which is interesting, because, for example, Bruce was just talking about Oregon. Now, he did note Oregon had a better offensive line. The Oregon Ducks were a program on a level, multiple levels above Colorado. Yeah. Like multiple levels above Colorado.
Yeah.
Colorado was 2 years ago, you said you thought might have been the worst Power 5.
When they got there, it was the worst Power 5 job in America. It was the worst. They were in the worst spot of any Power 5 program.
And they got to be respectable and compete and win more often than they lost.
Oregon beat Colorado 42-6 in 2023, their first year at Colorado.
Yeah, that's not even a. It's like, so if you drop Shedeur on, that's the question. If Shedeur played on that 2023 Oregon team,
right, that's the one.
Is he better, the same, or worse than Bo Nix in that situation?
You know who the running back was at Oregon? Bucky Irving.
Pretty good.
2023.
Pretty good with the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. That's why this is so hard. It's not easy, and it's not always apples to apples, and you're not seeing people in the exact same situations. So that's really how I see it. You're trying to understand what parts of what you saw on tape from a prospect translate to the NFL and to our system in particular, because we're drafting for the Cleveland Browns. And, do you think he was? I'm not going to sit here and say there's a 100% certainty that Shedeur Sanders would be a great quarterback for the Cleveland Browns. Nobody knows that.
Nobody knows, man.
But I do think it is more likely than not that he would be the best quarterback that we have had here in quite some time. And Baker, and the hope would be he would do better than even Baker did here. And so that's what you're looking for. Because I know a lot of you out there right now are like, I hear what you say, we got to be able to beat Burrow and Lamar, and that's why they made that move. But I'll take Baker back right now.
But, and it's like I said this earlier in the show, where we were at that time to try to track down Burrow and Allen, we're not there now.
Well, no, our roster is not.
We don't have a healthy Nick. We don't even have Nick Chubb right now. But you don't have a healthy Nick Chubb. You don't have Jarvis. You don't have all of the things that we had at that time. It's a totally different roster.
Totally.
Up next from Love a Dog today, if QB were not such a pressing issue, where would you like the Browns to proceed at pick number 2?
Weapons.
Hunter, McMillan,
Hunter,
Genty.
Hunter.
I would take Hunter.
If let's say Shedeur is not a philosophical fit, not scores, let's just pretend, let's play that game and say he's not, then I would walk away with this draft with Cam Ward or Travis Hunter and be like, let's go.
Yeah.
I wake up Friday morning, we have Cam Ward or Travis Hunter. Let's go. See what the second round brings us, boys.
Yep. More from him. What was your least favorite job?
Oh, my God. What was your worst? Did you have a bad one ever? You lifeguarded. That's
lifeguarding was great.
Pretty glorious. I
mowed a lot of lawns. But it was fine. You're outdoors. It's nice out. That was fine. Probably my least favorite was a period when I was working for McKinsey, and we were consulting for a company based in Chattanooga, Tennessee, that made carpet backing. So that plastic kind of grid on the back of underside of a car. That's what they made.
Okay.
Consulting for them was pretty bleak. Chattanooga was a kind of a bleak town.
You were at McKinsey, though, so you're compensated very well.
Well,
decently well.
Yeah, for that stage in my life, sure. Relative to what I billed out per hour, or what I was billed out at per hour, I was not compensated well at all, to the tune of like maybe 10%. I was a profit center, is what I was.
Gibby?
I cleaned up after AA meetings, my church on a Saturday morning, man. And then I had to like vacuum and.
Was that a job or was that a volunteering?
No, I got paid for
It was
it.
a job.
Yeah, I got paid. Taking out the trash. That's when you could still smoke inside, like the social hall where the church was. Just you couldn't even see. It was rough.
I'm going to give you a top 3. First job I ever had was Rogging Fields. I made $2 an hour. I was probably 11 or 10 or 11, something like that. You would paratroop into a field of barley or wheat, and you would walk. You would get 10 kids or whatever, and my mom supervised it, and we would walk row by row and singularly pull out all of the weeds in the field because they didn't want to use pesticides and herbicides to get rid of it. So you'd have to pull them out. And it was just all day. You did it all day. And then
I'm
you
sure
walk
it
away
was
with 16
nice
bucks.
in the 50 degrees, nice and cool.
100
for
degrees
you.
in the summer because it was right before harvest.
Yeah.
You had to do it right before harvest in July. That sucked. Number 2, intercontinental truck body. I welded parts they took like pickup trucks and like ton trucks, and then they would put boxes on them.
Sure.
And they were the ones who would weld the boxes on the trucks for delivery purposes, so forth, so on. I was in charge of welding parts. It was a job that my dad made me do because he wanted to show me what the real world was in case I didn't need a big enough example growing up where I did. So the shift was from 4 a.m. to noon. Let me just tell you something. When you are coming out of your senior year of high school and that is how you spend the first part of your senior summer, let's just say this. When I got mono, I've never been more happy, and I was in the hospital for 3 days. But that meant I could be done. Mono saved me. That was the flippin' worst. Finally.
Picking up dog poop by comparison seems very
you
easy.
don't say.
Yeah.
Can I interest you in mucking stalls?
No.
So what I would have to do there is
I know about
take a
that.
pitchfork and go clean a horse stall.
Yep.
Buckle up, baby.
Yep. I've done
Calving
that.
season's no joy. I've done it all, kids. A lot of suck.
Ryan.
Can you imagine me telling Bootsy this is what you're going to
Yeah,
do today?
you'd be like,
Here's your Friday.
no, I won't. I'd be like, Mom.
I don't even
What is
I don't
this?
even want to question. Like,
The hell
don't
is
come
this?
back in here
No.
until it's done.
That's what you're doing.
You try it, Dad. It's hard.
It was good. That was a
You,
really
you
good
always
Bootsy.
enter situations in a
Big way.
Ryan says no. Are you guys willing to concede that you're happy that the movie Rudy exists, if only for the fact that it's where Vince Vaughn and Jon Favreau met and became friends, leading to some all-time great collaborations?
Fine.
Fine.
It's the only thing that's
As long
good
as
about
I
it.
don't have to watch it.
Yep.
I mean, they've got, Swingers made, what's the one with him and Aniston? There's some great moments in
The
that.
breakup?
The breakup.
The
there's
breakup is
some incredible
electric.
moments.
Yes, it is.
The
It does
first,
get a little depressing.
the
at
first
points.
hour
At
of the
the end, it's
breakup
sad.
is electric.
It's amazing. Yeah, what's the one with him and Reese Witherspoon with the Christmases? He's in that.
4 Christmases.
Sucking down those wings. It's
Yeah,
incredible.
4 Christmases is great.
Being wrestled by
Favreau,
the
Tim
brother-in-law.
McGraw
Yeah.
are the
Duvall.
and Duvall is the dad.
Yeah.
And they're like
Dwight
the
Yoakam
UFC
is
fighters.
The preacher. Like,
Yeah.
God, it's unbelievable.
Yeah, loaded.
Yeah. No, that's good.
All right, we got 30 seconds here from Jersey Dog.
17.
Nathan Zegura versus Bo Bishop versus Gibbs. In basketball, horse, who would win? I'm not winning that.
It'd be between you and I.
Yeah.
Yeah, it would totally be between you two.
I've probably shot more hoops more recently than you because I play with my kids all the time. So you'd probably have to knock the rust off, and then I think it'd be a very good competition.
Yeah.
All right, there you go.
It's today's mailbag.
There you go, kids. So much more to come. You listen to Cleveland Browns Daily on 850 ESPN Cleveland. How'd the Cavs game go last night? You enjoy yourself?
Great fun, yeah. Saw your sister-in-law.
Yeah.
It was a real treat. You're like, what the what?
What the
I
what?
was like, hold
man?
on, I got to send a picture to Bo right now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was cool.
Yeah.
Very cool to see that.
They had a nice
61
win.
wins for them.
By the way, they won that game 15 plus. I want to say. I think the Knicks had their scrubs did a little bit better than ours. By the way, there's a guy on the Cavs. How much time we have?
You got a minute 20, probably minute 10.
1 minute. 1 minute.
G-Man, you know the Cavs roster inside and out?
Yeah.
Who is the dude that looks like Joe Dirt?
What?
That's Luke Travers from Australia.
The
I
Cavs
like this
sent a
guy.
dude in at the end of the game. I want to say it was number 33,
Yep.
who looks like he is.
Oh, look at this guy.
Oh, but that picture does nothing. His hair now is the mullet is so much more
He's
substantial.
Australia?
And he's got he's tatted up.
Yes, he is.
He's unreal. Like, I just wanted him
He's
to get
from
the ball.
Perth.
He didn't
30,
even take a
30.
shot. I was like, all I wanted was like, get this guy the ball. That's a better picture if this ever loads here. Yeah, that's a better picture now. I was like, this guy.
They always try to get Amani Bates the ball when those guys go in.
I know Bates did make a shot, but I'm like, dude, get this guy.
Get
the
this guy
ball.
some. I mean,
Let's go.
Just outside of
Tremendous.
Perth, Australia.
Yeah, Perth, Australia. We had
What a
a
win.
high school transfer named Jamie. I forget what his last name was when I was at Moreau. I was the
Lannister?
ball boy, and he was quite good. Yeah.
Next level coming up next. Thanks for listening, everybody. Cleveland Browns Daily, 850 ESPN Cleveland.